Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to welcome Professor Dilip Manohar. So he has been instrumental in introducing this module on hydraulic circuits in our syllabus. So he was teaching in the college in 2018-19, and during that time it was discussed that this is an important aspect which was not there earlier in the machine design syllabus. So he was instrumental in designing this particular module, and thereafter each year he has been taking this module, and I'm very happy that he has agreed to join and spare his time for this particular teaching session. I'll just briefly introduce him. Mr. Dilip Manohar is mechanical engineer with post-graduation in mechanical design. He obtained his degree from VJTI Mumbai in year 1980 and did his MTech from IIT Bombay in year 1982. He has more than 25 years of industrial experience in various engineering industries, including Cadbury's India. He also taught machine design as a subject in engineering colleges, that is Don Bosco Institute of Technology, Mumbai, and our college. He handled various industrial portfolios like machine design, manufacturing, quality assurance, supplier assessment and evaluation, supplier quality enhancement, and design validation. He has good exposure to industrial hydraulics, engineering calculations, supply chain management for technical products, and manufacturing process improvements. He currently undertakes coaching in mechanical engineering design and related subjects to group of students, training of staff in companies in engineering design, quality assurance, manufacturing process improvement, design validation, heat treatment, process detailing, and engineering drawings. So as you can see, he has got a very vast experience in both industry as well as teaching, and we are fortunate to have him as a teacher for this session. So I request Mr. Dilip Manohar to proceed with this session. Thank you, Mr. Dilip Manohar.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I welcome all the students to my session here. I'll start sharing the screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope you are able to see all the slides. Is it okay? Uh, I'll make sure it is 100%. Okay. I think I'll start here. Do you want to give fully zoom, or this is okay, sir? Is this okay, sir?
No, if you can make it full screen, that
Full
will
screen.
be better,
Okay, okay. I try to make it full screen.
because some of them will be watching on mobile, so there it will be.
Okay, okay, okay. Uh, I just trying to see how to make it
Yeah,
full screen.
that
What is the method?
bottom icons
Okay,
are
okay,
hidden somewhere. I don't know.
okay. Where are that button icons? I'm not able to figure out. Just a minute. Huh? Now I think I can show. Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it is okay now.
Yeah. Uh, good morning, everyone. Good morning to all my students. I'll start with the introduction topic of industrial hydraulics. Uh, Let us see what is a fluid power. A fluid power is the technology that deals with the generation, control, transmission of forces, and movement of mechanical elements or the system with the use of pressurized fluids in a confined system. That means fluid power is a technology to use a hydraulic high pressure fluid to transmit force movements in a system, and that can be used to some advantage. So fluid power is used to push, pull, regulate, or drive virtually all the machines of modern industry. So it's a very useful technique for driving the machines in current industry. What are the advantages of fluid power? One is ease and accuracy of control, multiplication of force, then multifunction control. So fluid power can be controlled from a center station where the complete control of entire production line is done. So it's a centralizing of all the controls in a industry for production process, or maybe some automated packaging device, or maybe some other rolling mill sheet presses. Many automated production lines can be controlled through a centralized station. Other advantages is low speed torque, constant force or torque. So you can have multiple choice. Either you can have low speed torque, high speed torque, constant force, constant torque. Then other advantage is simplicity, safety, and economy. Uh, Somewhere the economy may not be present sometimes because it's a cost. Hydraulic power packs are generally very costly. One advantage, second and third advantage is low weight to power ratio. That means it will, for the given power, it has a smallest weight as compared to other mechanical designs. Then it's economical. This economical term can be questionable. Okay. Then why there is so much of fluid power being extensively used is because of its versatility and manageability, because of the it is not constrained by any geometry of the machine, so it is totally free how to use. The actuation of forces can go to very smallest area possible in the geometry of the machine. Power can be transmitted almost limitless quantity because fluid systems are not so limited physical limitation of the material. So you can transmit power to the smallest area possible. That is one more bigger advantage. It is also suited to for automation application because of the above four categories. Major where they are used actually is fluid power is mainly used in large scale industry, stationary system, mobile system, and aeronautical system. And much, of course, I have given only a few industrial names, but there are many actually. Maybe list may go to 30 to 40 industries where hydraulic machineries are used for uh, production or actuation of activity. I'll see the now show you what are the some the deficiencies of the hydraulic power. It is not a perfect still, but we understand. Then we have a choice how to use it positively. Despite of the many positive advantages, the hydraulic power has some disadvantages. Hydraulic seals can leak and spill fluids all over the places. The hydraulic power, you need to have entire oil supply and pumping station. That means it involves cost and space occupation. It has a cost and it takes up space and it has a weight also. For mobile and airborne system, the space and weight are critical design parameters. So you need to be designing in a very efficient way. The hydraulic pump can be noisy. Then oil can be a fire hazard. So these are some disadvantages. So you take care of this aspect while selecting a hydraulic power pack for your machinery. Now application, let us go one by one. These are large scale hydraulic stationary systems where hydraulics is used. Here it is shown how the hydraulic cylinders are used to raise the bridge in a stationary system. Here in the mobile system, a lot of cylinders and power packs are used here. So these are the some cylinders for actuating the motion of the earth moving equipment. Bucket cylinder, stick cylinder, boom cylinder, then engine. This is a type of machine used in harvesting. They're probably in the application of woodworking industry. And you can see how the big size cranes are used for moving the logs from one place to another place. Aeronautical system actuation is you require small space. In small space, you require high force. So you can see these wings of uh, aeroplane uh, uses hydraulic system. You must have seen these flaps being opened while landing or while starting the plane. So they are used for flap actuation. Here it is shown the rendition of the actuation system for the control of the airliner wings. This is an industrial application problem you have seen in industry, hydraulic forklift. Now currently there are electrical forklift also, but previously hydraulic forklift was the best option in industry for movement of the goods from one place to another. So in aeronautical industry, it is more powerful because of the small compact size and high power. These two combinations makes it for good for aeronautical industry. Uh, Particularly useful for our conventional car, fluid power steering control system is used in the car, modern cars, for turning the wheels, front wheels, rear wheels. This is another very popular application in industry, hydraulic press, where you will see a lot of mechanical forces are used for deformation of metal, and hydraulic press is very common in most of the mechanical industry. Then similarly, machine tools, hydraulic press brake and hydraulic shears are most common application of hydraulics, where you can use the hydraulic press brake and shears for metal forming application. So this is the next slide I'm showing. What are the books and references I have used for making these PPTs and slides? Uh, I'll suggest a lot of videos are available on YouTube, particularly Jim Pytel's video on hydraulic and electrical controls of hydraulic system. It's a very powerful resource. Its name is Big Bad Tech Channel, and it is conducted by Jim Pytel from Columbia George Community College. And this channel has 47 videos on different uh, aspect of fluid power system, and it will cover in very much detail, like every single topic you take. It's a cylinder, pump, actuator, maybe a hydraulic motor, valves. A lot of details are being shown in the this YouTube channel. Probably it is on a this videos are designed for particularly those work in the industry with a maintenance application. They are designed for that, but very useful for understanding the working of the valves and uh, what to do, what not to do in hydraulics. So this I'll suggest use these videos to understand in detail, much more detail than uh, theory. For theoretical aspect, I'll suggest this book, Fluid Power with Application by Anthony S. Esposito, Pearson International Edition. This is a book, textbooks available probably on uh, in many libraries, and you can refer this textbook. One more interesting session, I'll say it's a simulation, hydraulic simulations are available on YouTube or even the Google. You can search lunchboxsessions.com. These are the some series on three more applications, like one is hydraulics, one machinery and electrical control. All three topics are covered by the lunchbox session, and you can see a lot of basic steps of fluid power on this lunchbox session. It's so very interesting to see the simulation. That means actually how the fluid moves around and how things are controlled, how it works. So it will be very interesting to watch this simulation. This also I'll suggest you go through when you have a spare time. Not only for hydraulics, it has got many machinery application and electrical applications, electrical controls. So you'll see a lot of interesting applications of engineering. And one fourth important resource is IIT notes, lecture notes by NPTEL. They are all covered under name of Fundamentals of Industrial Oil, Hydraulics and Pneumatic. This is the link given here. I'll be sharing this when lectures are over. So this NPTEL notes are very much in detail. It covers almost 30 to 40 chapters. A lot of small topics are covered, from the basics of hydraulics, fluid power, then energy conservation, the topics of different interest in hydraulics. So this covers our introduction to hydraulics. I'll open the next slide PPT now. So like any topic, we require to symbolize this. We use a lot of symbols in hydraulic circuit. So in this topic, we'll see how the hydraulic circuits are represented and how it is explained to the customers. Let us see one by one. Study of an example of hydraulic circuit. Further study how the symbols are used commonly and discuss the operational features of various common types of valves. We'll be going in detail. So components of a hydraulic systems. What are the components? Motor, prime mover, the pump for pumping fluid, pressure regulator to control pressure, then direction control valve to direct the fluid to application, then actual load or the actual application of the system, and one more is the oil tank and filter. This oil tank and filter is a part of system here for storing the oil and filtering. There are filters here. I like to compare the design of hydraulic circuit with electrical circuit. Hydraulic fluid, like electricity, flows in a circuit. It is pumped from a reservoir or tank. That is, it flows through various pipes, tubes, hoses. It can be directed to different location, different direction. It drives an actuator, a cylinder, or a hydraulic motor. Then it flows back to the tank, like a reservoir. Then what is the comparison? The reservoir is like an electrical ground. The pump is analogous to a battery. The tubes are like wires from where the current is flowing, and here the fluid is flowing. Valves are like a switches for directing the current. Pressure is like a voltage, it drives the fluid across the circuit. Flow rate is like a current. So all this phenomena makes you comfortable. So you can, once those who have done electrical circuit, it will be very easy to understand the hydraulic circuit because they are very analogous to electrical circuit to design. So I think the same slide I have explained in a slightly elaborate way. We have seen a lot of components: pump, motor, valves, actuator. What are the functions? I have repeated here. Hydraulic actuator is a device to convert fluid power into mechanical power to do useful work. The actuator could be a linear type hydraulic cylinder or rotary type a hydraulic motor to provide linear or rotary motion respectively. So our application in industry is to drive something to in a linear manner or to rotate in a rotary fashion. So there could be two applications in industry, either rotation or linear actuation. So hydraulic pump is used to force the fluid from reservoir to the rest of the circuit by converting motor electrical energy to mechanical energy and mechanical energy to hydraulic energy. Then what are the valves for? Valves are used for controlling direction. So here there are three functions of valve: controlling the direction, controlling the pressure, and the flow rate of the fluid moving through the circuit. The external power supply is a motor required to drive the pump. Here it could be a motor or an engine. If it is a mobile application, it could be engine. The reservoir is used like a tank to hold the hydraulic liquid, usually hydraulic oil. Piping system carries the hydraulic, I'll just open the pointer. The piping system carries hydraulic oil from one place to another. It's like a tube. Filters are used to remove the foreign particles to keep the fluid system clean and efficient and to avoid damage to the actuator and valves. You will see when you actually do work in industry, you will see filters are very much necessary, though it is not doing any significant work, but they remove particles, and foreign particles can be dangerous for efficient working of the actuators and valve. If the particles goes and get stuck, it will malfunction the circuit, and so it is required to have clean oil continuously used. Pressure regulators regulate the oil pressure, maintains the oil level of the pressure in the of the hydraulic fluid. Cylinder movement also is controlled by the three-way control valve. We'll see this during the next topics. Components now continuing. When the piston of the valve is changed to upper position, the pressure pressure in the pipeline is connected to port A and the load is raised. You will see this is during the when we show the slide. When you connect the appropriate cylinder port, one port can be used to lift the load, another port can be used for lowering the load. When the position of the valve is changed, it can lower to the lower position. Pipeline is connected to port B and it will get disconnected. It will go, oil will go back to the reservoir. When it is in a central position, the fluid gets locked. That we'll see during the some future slides. In industry, what they're supposed to do, industrial designer or machine designer conveys the design of hydraulic circuit using system. The figure in the next slide will show components using the symbols. Now we'll see actual components and symbols. So this was the aim of the designer, to show the symbolically what are the system content. So this is the actual circuit. Now cylinder is connected to the control valve. Control valve is connected to the pump and the motor, and the lines are connected to reservoir. We'll study this in more details when we go to the next slides. So now I am showing you all the hydraulic symbols used in the design of hydraulic circuit. These are all ISO standards as per ISO. So most probably we'll be using all these symbols in your design of circuit. Instead of symbol drawing physically, we'll use all these standard symbol. So first symbol is a fixed displacement pump, where the circle and filled arrow is showing as a actuation of the pump for pump. And this side is a delivery, this side is a motor connection. If the pump has a variable displacement, it is shown by an arrow with a drive shaft, and it has got two connections, inlet and outlet. Then the motors are shown in a opposite way. Instead of fluid connection, this is not an electrical motor, this is a hydraulic motor. Motors are shown with the arrow inside. It is showing that motor takes the hydraulic fluid inside and it drives the output is a shaft motion here. So either it can drive from here or it can drive from here, depending on the direction. It is a bidirectional motor. This motor is also bidirectional, but it has got variable adjustable flow rate for changing the speed of the motor. Now coming to the actuator symbol, fluid power symbols for actuators. Cylinders, double acting cylinder is shown in this fashion, when there is a rectangle and a piston and a rod. So this is a double acting cylinder with an input port and output port, or it could be this input or that output. It's a double acting single cylinder, single rod cylinder. This is a double acting double rod cylinder. That means it can have rod coming out from the both end. Here the rod was coming out from the rod end, one end. The other end was called cap, and this is the rod end. So here rod is coming out from the both end. It's called double acting double rodded cylinder. Here there is a cylinder which is a cushioning. Cushioning we'll see in later chapters. What is meant by cushioning? Here the impact of the cylinder is absorbed by some cushioning effect. So this is shown by cushioning. This is the symbol for pressure control lines, pressure control valves, sorry. So pressure control valves is symbolically shown with a rectangle, one arrow. We'll see all the details when we go to the detailed topic on the pressure control valves or valves. So here there is some small dotted line. It shows there is some pilot pressure acting on the actuation of the valve. And this is P and T stands for pressure line and secondary line or tank line. So this is also another way of pressure control valve. Then we come to the flow control valves. Flow control valves are shown in this fashion. There is a two lines showing its orifice, and the line is showing as a hydraulic line. So when you have a line controlled with a flow control valve, the flow is controlled by operating the orifice opening. Then there is a throttle valve. You can adjust this is a fixed orifice line. That means it's a controlled is constant. Here there is an adjustable valve. So you can adjust the orifice with the help of throttle valve. So here third symbol is for throttle valve with a reverse free flow. What is meant by reverse free flow? The one side flow will be directed through an adjustable orifice, while the flow is coming from this side. It will need not go from the orifice. It can have a bypass line through a check valve. So this is another symbol we'll see during the working of this session. This is called as a check valve. It is having free flow in one direction, in the direction of the towards the actuation of ball. This is a throttle valve with a sharp edge pressure compensated. So here there is a pressure compensation is done for some reason. We'll see during the design of the flow control valve. And this is a bypass check valve for free flow in other direction. Check valve is valve used for one-way flow. That means it will allow flow from here it is right to left. So it is showing that it can open the ball and it will allow the flow from one side to another side. And its design is with a spring loading. So it's a spring loaded check valve. So in reality, we did not show actual check valve, but we'll show by this symbol. This is another valve where there is a pilot is given, pilot signal is given where there is a small line connected to the check valve, and this will open the location of the ball and it will actuate the valve and it will allow the free flow from one side to another side. So here the pilot signal is used for operating the check valve instead of the actual fluid pressure. This is shuttle valve. It is allowing flow from one side to another side depending on the ball position. Ball could be here or ball could be here. Then directional valve, shut off valve, which is a mechanical valve which will be, we can open and close by physical means. There is a handle knob, we can open and close. Now we'll see more detailed symbols for position. Some valves where there are many positions possible. That means there are symbols shown here. There are two positions or two rectangles shown, two squares are shown. That means two squares can independently occupy two independent position. Either it could be this operating position or it can be this operating position. So the nomenclature for this direction valve is two port. Two ports means port 1, 2. Two position, either this position or this position, normally closed. So normal actuation is here. This is a normally closed position. So port A and P are not connected. This now normally open. That means there are two ports A and P are connected. That means port is A to P is connected, but other port is by actuation. That means we can shift one position to another position by some actuation. So two position, two port, two position normally open. That means this is the normal actuated position. Here now there are symbol with the three ports. One port here, 1, 2, 3. That means A, P, T. That means A is some port of actuation, P is a pressure port, T may be a tank port or return line port. So three port, two position normally closed. That means A to P is not connected, so it's called closed position. The fourth symbol here, there is a three port, two position normally open. That means P is connected to A. So this is an open position. That means flow can occur from P to A normally when this position is in actuation. When you shift the other position, it will get closed. Now we come to the four port, two position normally open. So there are a number of ports could be given by symbols A, B, P, T. This is normal convention to give actual port from the pump and tank given as P and T. The port is connected to pump line P. Tank line is connected to T. These are the working lines. A and B will go to the area where it is used for conducting fluid to actual circuit. So A and B names are given. Very popular symbol given here. So in one position of the valve, P is connected to A, B is connected to T. So it is in a normally open position. When you switch over to the second position, it gets cross connected. That means A is connected to T, B is connected to P. So it will get interchanged. That we'll see when we go to the actual direction control valve. Here it is a next one is a 4-port 3-position closed center. That means there are cross connection here. That means the ports A is connected to T, B is connected to P. Center position is all A, B, P, T are closed, shown in the symbol with a like a blinded by some closure. So A, B, P, T are closed. Third position is a normal position. A is connected to P, B is connected to T in this position. So 3 position means you can have position 1, 2, 3, whichever is way you want for your actuation of circuit. But it is currently shown as a closed center. That means currently all ports are closed. Then here, the next symbol, similar to previous one, except here, A, B and T are normally connected to each other in the center position. In the center position, A and B is connected to tank. That means both are drained and P is blocked. That means pressure port is blocked. Other two positions are similar to the previous slide. Here, the next symbol, it is shown as an infinite positioning. That means it is possible to have very small transition from one position to another with the help of line. It is probably may not be able to discuss this. Now I am showing the fluid power symbols for fluid transmission line. Fluid transmission line is a simple line is shown as a flow line. It's a working line or a return line or supply line. Flow line, it's a pilot supply or the very small quantity of fluid when it is connected. It is shown as a dashed line, and that dashed line is shown with a dashed line is shown as a pilot supply line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some dashes are shown. This is a another way of showing flow line with a dash, but they are for the bleed or drain line. Here, not brain, it's a drain line, drain or bleed. When we have some areas we are required to drain some walls from the actuation point of view. I'll elaborate this as a drain line. It is not a pilot supply, but it's a returning the fluid from the some area to back to the tank. This is the envelope outline. Flexible hose line shown with the some curve here for showing that as a flexible hose, and it is taking a jump. That means it's not connected to the center area. If there is a pipe or tube connection, if there are two lines crossing each other, and if it is a dot is present, that means they are connected to each other. That means this line is connected to this line. That means there is a flow from one line to the another line in a perpendicular way. When there is no dot, that means such simply jump. One line is jumping over the another, or it jump could be shown in this fashion, curvature line. If there is a curvature given here, that means it's not taking a connection. Now coming to mechanical components. Mechanical components are shown for rotating shaft. We show a symbol of this type. If it is a both direction, connection symbols are shown in this fashion. Arrow with a clockwise or anti-clockwise motion. Now coming to control. Control mechanism is for actuation of some valves position. Here there are two small dents are shown on the actuator with a handle here. That dents are shown as a detain. That means you can physically lock the position of the valve by detain. That means you can make it memorize that position for a small amount of time till you want next position to operate. When you want to operate, you remove the lock and again move the actuating mechanism. So go to the next position. This is a roller plunger. It is like similar to our electrical controls when you have a limit switch or plunger actuated switch. So this is a symbol for roller plunger. Spring is represented by a zigzag cross like this symbol. Now, when we want to actuate a valve, actuation can be done through a manual operation, or it could be a pneumatic or a hydraulic line. A hydraulic line is shown by some filled arrow, completely filled with a black symbol, and a pneumatic line is shown with a triangle without any filling. So either you can actuate a valve with pneumatic symbol, pneumatic line, or a hydraulic line. Come to the next slide. What are the control mechanism now? You can show general control mechanism in a symbol like this. That means this represents a symbol for actuation method. It could be a push button. It could be a lever. One actuation is a push button. That means you physically push that button. Lever it used to operate mechanical lever to operate the position from one position to another position. You can shift the position of the valve with the help of lever. If it is a pedal operated, it is shown in this fashion. That means some operator can actuate the valve with the help of pedal. Then electrical symbols. Electrical symbols are shown for the actuator with a inclined line which shows as a solenoid actuation. So actuation of electrical, it could be a 12 volt supply or 24 volt supply for switching the on solenoid. So it will shift the position of the valve from one part to another part with the help of electrical signal. So electrical solenoid is used by circuit in most of the industrial actuation is using solenoid, very popular method. Proportional solenoid, that means you can have a variable signal voltage for the proportional actuation. That means it can move to a very different extent as per signal, proportional to signal. is also proportional solenoid with the feedback. That means here there could be a feedback of the mechanism. That means whatever signal has been given, the feedback is taken. One more electrical symbol is pressure switch. That means in the circuit, when we want to use a pressure actuation, pressure switch is represented by this symbol. There is a spring and a variable arrow, and there are three dots. One position is connected via line, so it can shift. This lever can get connected to this lever by means of actuation. One more important part of the design is accumulator. We'll see this. This is a important symbol for actual. Here there is a cylinder with the oil inside and one pneumatic bladder. So this oil is acts as a reservoir and it acts as a pressure source. Whenever you require some pressure in the circuit, you can remove this, drain this accumulator and use it in the hydraulic circuit. It is like a flywheel, storage of energy. So accumulator is nothing but a storage of energy for actuation of some device when you want to avoid the continuous operation of motor. We'll see this in later in design of accumulator. This is a symbol for filter and strainer. So filter is nothing but a one square symbol with a dashed line. So oil is supposed to go from one side to another side with a filtration. So these are the I am just elaborating how it is shown here. This I think is perhaps repetition of the previous thing which I have shown. I'll go fast here. It's a two-position, two-way. So now here many things are combined with a direction control valve, ports, spring position, electrical solenoid, and manual override. So here two-position, two-way solenoid actuated, spring offset. Spring offset means when there is a spring, to show the normally spring is used to show the default position. That means when you have no power, no actuation, the spring position is supposed to be the normal position of the control valve location. That means this position of the valve is active when there is no power. So that will show as a spring offset. So normally closed. So normally when there is no power, A and P are not connected to each other. Ports are not connected. So it's a normally closed. You make sure that you don't get confused from the electrical side, because in electrical circuit there is a we use a NC, so normally closed, but in the hydraulic symbol NC means there are no connection between A and P. In electrical circuit is exactly other way around. So you make sure that you are careful about the correct nomenclature for the hydraulic circuit. NC is not connected. That means normally not connected to one another here. The ports are normally closed. That means A and P are disconnected hydraulically. And this is the direction control of the manual override. That means it can have solenoid actuation as well as it can have manual override. Suppose in case of power failure, you can override with the help of manual actuation. So similar way, here also there is a two solenoids, one but retention. Here we can retain the position of the valve with the help of detention. So you can stop the position here, one either here this position or this position with the help of detain. So here also same way, here it's a manually actuated instead of solenoid actuated or override. It's a manually lever actuated spring offset. So here normally this position is normally active. A is connected to tank and P is blocked, and this is by default position of the spring. When you actuate with the help of spring lever, this second blocks will come into picture. Here fourth one is a three-position four-way manually actuated spring centered instead of offset. Here both sides of springs are there. That means in the normal position both springs will actuate and it will occupy the center position. Whenever you see spring centered, that means it will be a central position will be normally present when there is no power or no actuation, and it's a closed center. So A and B are blocked, P and T are blocked. It's a direction controller with a either it's a cross connect or it's a straight connect. So this is a cross connect position between A, T and TB. Here it's a straight connection, A to P, B and T, and it's a manually actuated and spring centered. So same continues here. So different names are given. The names are given: closed center, tandem center. We'll see in future slide because this is covered in the future slide. So just I want to show that what are the possibilities centers have. It's a closed center, that means the center position is A, B, P, T or closed. Tandem center, that means P is drained to the tank. The position P, power connection is pressure line is connected to tank line. A and B are blocked. Float center, that means P is isolated, but A, B are connected to the tank. That means all both our lines are drained to the tank. Open center means all connections are done. A, B, P, T are cross connected to each other. So this is another way of showing the connection. Now, this we have done. Actually, I want to show what are the different accumulators now symbol. This symbol is shown as a accumulator. We have seen is the storage of fluid energy for the purpose of some actuation. When there is a gas is used for the accumulator working, that means gas is filled from this side and it will exert a pressure on the hydraulic fluid. So this is a gas charge accumulator. That means gas is nitrogen is used. Here there is a spring loaded actuator. That means spring is used for exerting pressure on the line. It's a weight accumulator. That means some dead weight is used here for actuation. Here this symbol, now I am coming to some more electrical symbols. What are the used for? This will be accessories actually. This is a normally used, you must be aware. This is a pressure gauge used for showing pressure. This is a pressure switch used in electrical side for connecting the electrical supply and actuating some pressure signal. This is a pressure signal here. Here the pressure switch, it's a monitors pressure. If suppose some pressure is changed, it will actuate some device. Here also it is a pressure sensor, but it's an analog output. That means P and T, it will give analog output to the computer. This symbol is a flow meter. That means it will measure the flow. It will measure continuously the flow. This symbol is like a mechanical limit switch. It will have some toggle, and toggle is actuated by a lever. So suppose there is some reciprocating device, it will either close or open the actuator toggle, and it will actuate some electrical things here. And limit switch monitors the physical position of the actuator. So cylinder or some other device, you can use the limit switch for actuation. This is a magnetic proximity switch. We'll elaborate. Now, what are the ways of connecting and disconnecting a pipelines to the, this I am shown here is a coupling, quick connect coupling. It is shown by two check valves with the two lines here. Now it is disconnected when this line and this line are having a gap here. So there means connection from this side and this side is not existing now. When you have single symbol like this, that means the quick connect coupling is connected. You can notice this symbol. When the quick connect coupling is connected, the balls are moving apart. That means the line flow is possible from here. But when they are not connected, the line, the oil cannot come out from this side and this side. That means oil is disconnected. The flow cannot come out from the quick connect coupling. When you connect it, the symbols are shown like this. So show that there is a free movement of oil from one side to another side. This is a electrical symbol for pressure switch. It's called a SPST, that is single pole, single throw. So it could be this used for the pole is connecting 11 to 12 port, or it could be used for actuation of 13 to 14. That means you can use connect between 2 points 11 to 12, or it can use to actuate when it is not connected. So single pole, single throw switch, it can connect the lines 11 to 12 or 13 to 14 depending on the actuation position. Here it is shown one side it is connected, it is not connected. Here it's a double throw switch. Probably this we may not go in detail because it's electrical things, but I've just shown that there are symbols used in electrical circuit. Okay. So here I'm explaining you pressure switch actuation. The pressure switch is a connection, is an electrical connection between fluid power and a control circuit. It is in deactivated state. Either it will have NC or NO. That means it will be normally closed. That means the connection is electrically like this. This is NC. For electrical thing, it is like NC. For electrical things, it is normally open. So you can make sure that you don't get confused with the hydraulics and electrical thing. So remember, controls in this fashion it's normally closed, and controls in this fashion is normally open. That means disconnect. But in hydraulic, it is exactly opposite. NC and NO has some different meaning. So when the pressure, now here how it is actuated, pressure switch, you imagine there is a pressure and tank, the pressure variation with respect to time in the pressure, in the some pressure line. Suppose pressure in the line is increasing continuously in this fashion. So pressure switch, as soon as the pressure reaches this point, desired pressure, what will happen? It will NO will become NC and NC will become NO. That means it will have a changeover. So use that symbol for doing some work for your line. So after pressure goes down below the set point, it at this point the pressure gets again this pressure switch get reset again and it will go to the original position. That means at this point when the pressure reaches this set point, it will change over. But while pressure comes down after it is doing some work, when pressure comes down, doesn't switch over at this point, but it is set at this lower pressure. So this difference between the this pressure and this pressure is called span. So this pressure P1 and P2 has some difference. So reset pressure is slightly lower than the actual set pressure. At reset pressure, it again goes back to the previous position. That means after the pressure goes to the P2 position, the pressure switch goes to the original state. That means it will restore the original position. So this actuation of some method here, this electrical actuation, you can use it for controlling the motor or a pump. So this, why this is kept actually, there is a purpose here to keeping the difference between the set value and the reset value to avoid the chattering of the pressure switch. If it is very small, pressure switch tend to chatter a lot. That means it will keep on actuating on off position too frequently. To remove that chatter, we keep some small gap between the pressure point and reset point. So here also this same thing is shown in the previous slide. And this is a pressure transducer. I have just explained here. They are pressure sensing device. It gives analog output, and more the pressure, more is the voltage. So what is the output? Either it could be a voltage or a current, and this is used to feed the computer. And decision will be based on a control logic for human intervention. Okay. Now, what are the governing principles of hydraulics and its laws? So fluid power systems are designed using the principles learned in fluid mechanics. You have learned fluid mechanics to a quite great extent. So I'll not repeat, but I'll briefly show what are the principles which we have used in fluid mechanics. So first law is the Pascal's law. Pressure exerted on a confined fluid is transmitted undiminished in all directions and acts with equal force and pressure on all areas at right angles to the containing force. This is a very basic law of Pascal's. So used for designing of the cylinders or actuators. So Pascal's law says that pressure is equal in a confined space, all at all points. Second law, which we have studied in fluid mechanics, is a Bernoulli's equation or conservation of energy. Total energy of the fluid in motion. It includes potential energy due to elevation, pressure energy due to pressure, and kinetic energy due to velocity of the fluid. It is conserved and it is not destroyed. But you can change this conservation of energy equation by accounting for motor energy, energy due to motor, and subtraction of power losses due to friction and viscosity losses. So you need to remember the Bernoulli's equation for writing the conservation of energy principle. So you can design a circuit using pressure, Pascal's law, conservation of energy. Then one more thing is continuity principle. These three principles are governing the principles of fluid mechanics and used in the hydraulic circuit. Then also you remember the fluids cannot support shear forces when it's in static condition, but only when it is in motion, it has a viscosity comes into picture. So it will be viscosity playing major role in the hydraulic circuit. You need to remember that. So this completes our introduction to hydraulic circuit. I'll just take one sip of water. Just excuse me. Now, let us go to the next PowerPoint presentation. Instead of circuit, I am taking the pump because this is the most important part of the system. So we have a good introduction to hydraulic pumps now. What are the pumps? In this lesson, we shall learn role of the pumps in hydraulic system, how the positive displacement pump functions, explore the important calculation needed to analyze positive displacement pump, discuss the gear pump selection, selection of oil viscosity, selection of line velocity, discuss gear and vane pump. This is the introduction. So flow, how does the pump work actually in fluid mechanics? The pump create, how do the pump create flow? Geometrically, they open up a volume and allow the fluid to be in. Then they close the volume and squeeze the fluid out. Now it is shown how the simple reciprocating pump works. Here there's a analog design. A simple pump shown is a piston pump with the two check valves, inlet and as well as outlet. On the inlet stroke, that means when the handle is actuated, the piston rises. That means we are sucking the liquid inside. It creates a vacuum here. It creates a vacuum here. This side is a suction line. So when the plunger goes up, this piston goes up, it creates vacuum. It sucks the liquid from the suction side of the cylinder. Then when you put the piston back, when push back, the fluid will leave from this side to another side, the output side. The push is given to this side. This check valve will open because this check valve is closed here. So only oil has the option to go this side. So right hand check valve will be allowing flow to the left. Now on the upstroke, the fluid enters here. On the upstroke, the fluid enters from the left. This shown is when the piston is down, the fluid is squeezed to the right hand side. Fluid flow can flow to the check valve to the right hand side only. So on the downstroke, the fluid will exit from this side. So here, what are the previous slide we have shown piston pump. Now in hydraulics, we'll see some other types of pump. What are the other types of pumps? Centrifugal pumps or an axial pump. This will depend on the velocity imparted to the fluid by the impeller or propeller. This will have high flow rates and low pressure, low head. So they are used in the process industry to transport water and chemicals, petroleum power. This is the common use symbol for centrifugal pump, which we are familiar with the centrifugal pump design. These the pumps. Now we'll study the pumps for positive displacement pump. The positive displacement pump symbolically shown by this design circuit, circle with a filled arrow showing the exit of the fluid here. It is connected to the motor by a shaft. So this move a volume of fluid by opening up a volume and then squeeze it out. So small volume is taken, it's squeezed out to the other side. We'll see actual reality when we go to the next slide. These are the low flow but high head pump. So in the previous centrifugal pumps, we were showing the vane pump or the pumps where there was a high volume but low pressure. But these are positive displacement pumps are high pressure but low flow. That means comparatively the volumes are low. These pumps are we use for hydraulic system. So this is a positive displacement pump. So with each revolution of the pump, a certain amount of fluid is moved. And but there is one danger when there is a positive displacement pump. The fluid must have some place to go. If you shut off by mistake the discharge flow by any accident or something, what will happen? The fluid has no place to go. Then what will happen? The prime mover will move the pump, but there is no escape for the discharge side. So it will break the pump. So there is a danger in the positive displacement pump, and you should have all safety mechanism installed. It can stall the motor, it can break the pump, it can blow the seals, and fluid will be discharged everywhere. So you need to have some mechanism to protect the overpressure there. That means you require to have overprotection device in a pump. Normally, most of the pumps have built-in safety device, but in hydraulics, we'll use an external safety device. Now, what are the characteristics of the positive displacement? How to get the flow rate? You get the squeeze volume per revolution here, multiply by the speed of the rotation. So theoretical discharge QT is nothing but volume squeezed out per revolution Vd into omega. So theoretical flow is Qt. There is no leakage here, we assume. So units are meter cube per revolution into this. So it's a meter cube per second, or another unit could be liters per minute. Both units are very popular in calculation. So pump leakage now. Leakage is not an external leakage here, but between the pump casing and the inside. That means it's not external to the pump, it is internal pump. That means the discharge side to the suction side, there is a leakage in the pump design. So that is called as a leakage. It's not external leakage. So rather the leakage is from high pressure region to the low pressure region internally to the pump. So moving pump parts have small clearances like gear. They have a small clearances between the gear OD and the housing. So these clearances can cause some small leakage. We'll see the fluid leaks from these small clearances. What is the volumetric efficiency we are studying now? Volumetric efficiency has an internal as a leakage. We'll see that if the actual flow rate is a QA, it is less than the theoretical flow rate QT, than measured swept volume QD. So in fact, QA actually is a QT minus Q leak. That means the leakage. Theoretical flow rate minus the leakage flow rate is actual flow rate. So we define the efficiency of the volumetric efficiency of the pump by NV equal to QA upon QT, that you are familiar. So QA upon VD into omega. There are categories of the positive displacement pump. We will not go into much details of other, but we only roughly see most important characteristics of the positive displacement pump. What are the categories? Gear pumps. It's a lightweight, low efficiency pump. That means it's a low volumetric efficiency design. Vane pumps. It has got better design with respect to volumetric efficiency. It's a bigger in size. Piston pump, better performance means that's high pressure, bigger, heavier, and most expensive. Actually, now I'm showing here the gear pump design, how the gear pump is constructed. Here there are two gears meshing with each other, and there is a inlet port and outlet port depending on the direction. And this gear has very small clearance here on the between the casing and the gear. The amount of clearance is between the gear OD and the casing ID is almost at the microns level. That means 25 micron, 30 micron, 40 micron, to that level. It is not in millimeter as we give a clearance feed 0.1, 0.2. It is not in 100 micron. It is a less than that. That means about 50 microns, say, can say. There two gears rotate in a very tight clearance. Tight clearances means very low clearance. If you want to have how the gear pump works, there is a small animation here. You can open it, will see the how gear pump works. We have shown here how the gear pump works. Fluid enters from this side, say left side. This gear rotates in the clockwise direction. This rotates in the anti-clockwise direction. Fluid moves around the periphery, either on this side or on this side. It takes the liquid from this side around the periphery. It goes delivered to the other side. So that means what are the pockets here between the gear and the casing? There are small volumes of small pockets of oils. They are called as you can say gap between the gear teeth and the casing. Small volume, you can say oil pockets. They are delivered continuously from either on the top side or here in the bottom side when the gear moves, and it is delivered on the pressure side. So naturally, how does the pressure gets developed? Pressure get developed by you have some constraint. So when you have some constraint here for motion of oil, automatically this gear will exert more pressure and it will have develop that pressure to discharge this fluid against that of construction obstruction, and it will develop a pressure. So pressure is when there is open, there is no pressure here. It will deliver to the atmospheric pressure. But when you put some constraint on this side, the pressure is developed because of the constraint, and gear will exert higher torque as compared to the open position, and it will deliver the fluid to the other side. So this is what he is explaining again here. So here he says rotational gear volume between the teeth and casing opens and it goes to the discharge side. Fluid is carried around the outside of the gears, trapped between the housing and the space between the teeth. As the gear come together, the space is filled with oil and gives to the discharge port. So here we can go through some small calculation of gear pump design. So here it is shown that displaced volume is a swept volume uh, from casing and gear. So let us see. Units is probably we'll use smaller unit in millimeter cube per revolution. So one gear turn, one gear tooth and gap. This gap is this gap or this gap. This passes from this side to this side or from this side to this. For one gear tooth, how much is the gap? One half of the we are considering one side. So one half of the pi by 4 into do square. That means the gear OD square minus di square root diameter square. This is the volume which is swept from the one turn. So for one gear it is this. For the second gear it will be similar to this. So if there are two teeth, that means two number of gears here. If there are two gears, the volume displaced for one revolution will be pi by 4 do square minus di square. So we can convert that into the this theoretical flow by using this formula. Theoretical flow is omega, that means angular rotation into volume displaced per rotation. So pi by 4 do square minus di square. It is common to use n for RPM instead of omega. So we convert that into formula. So now I have taken here some slide from some NPTEL notes. The formula for a gear pump. So here there is a DO is the outside diameter uh, of the teeth gear design. DI is the inside diameter of the gear. L is the width of the gear. So DO is a in your language it's a OD of the gear. It's a DI is the root diameter of the gear. L is the width of the gear. N is the speed in RPM in revolutions per minute. VD is we calculated by this formula pi by 4 do square minus di square into length. That means addendum. This is converted into your addendum and addendum. M is the module of the gear, number of teeth Z, pressure angle alpha. So this whole formula is converted into number of teeth, module, and pressure angle by using appropriate conversion. So we come to the design here. QT theoretical discharge per revolution is 2 pi L m square n. M is for module, n is the RPM, into the bracket number of teeth into one more bracket 1 plus pi square cos square 20. This 20 is a pressure angle assume, divided by 12. Bracket close, second bracket close. It's a, if you put appropriate unit in different parameters, you will give meter cube per minute or you can have liters per minute. So use this formula for theoretical calculation of the gears. If there are two gears meshed with each other, 2 pi L m square n into some constant. This is the constant for the gear design. Z number of teeth, pi constant, pressure angle alpha constant, and numerical. So this part is constant for the gear once your geometry is fixed. This part is depends on the module and rotation. So once you have this formula, you can calculate the theoretical formula for the QT, the discharge of oil per revolution. Now, what are the other types of pumps? Gear pump. Just we'll go through the small presentation. What are the other types of pumps? Which we'll see. Some gear pumps are noisy, not efficient. So helical gear pumps are have helical gear. They mesh with smoothly than spur gear. Better than helical gear will be, you can say it's a uh, herringbone gears because there is no thrust. In helical gear, the fluid will have squeezed out along the side and it will give some axial thrust on the design. So herringbone design pumps have a small disc problem where they don't have any thrust problem. Normally, low cost industry always prefers spur gear for calculation or use because they are very cost effective, though they are noisy. The other types of pumps now. This is some pumps which are used in industry, very popular in uh, Petrol pump, you have seen any petrol pump. Petrol pump uses this internal gear design. So there are gears. One is a casing. It has got internal gear. One is the external gear. It's called as a ring gear. This is a ring gear, and it runs smoothly. So it discharges from one side. It takes the suction from this side and deliver it to the this side. It takes the volume from here. It consequently compresses the liquid and discharges on this side. This is the second type of design, gear pump, though it is not popular for oil industry. It is used for viscous fluid. It's called as a lobe pump. This also a gear rotor. It is also internal, similar to gear pump. It has got two rotors. One is a fixed outer ring gear. Internal gear is also called a gear rotor gear. They have eccentricity, and because of eccentricity, it squeezes out volume from one side to another side. The one more popular is a screw pump. Screw pump, there is a screw and a housing. The screw pump squeezes the fluid from pumps to the other side. It has some complicated geometry. It has got screw threads on the fluid and meshing here screw profile on the outside. It squeezes out the volume from one side to another side of the fluid, right? Discharge. It is used for plastic injection molding design industry. Most of the screw pumps are used for injecting the very high viscous fluid in the for plastic injection mold. So generally, the more complicated geometry, the quieter and more efficient pump. So as the gear geometry becomes complicated, it is a very smooth and silent operation of the pump, and but quite expensive. This is a vane pump also used for the petrol pump industry. For vanes are adjustable. Vanes are adjustable here in the slot, and this gear rotor has an eccentrically mounted position in the housing. As the gear rotates, the vanes go in and out as per the position of the rotor. Because of the centrifugal force, it forces it out. Maybe a spring is present, so it allows vanes to discharge the caught volume between the rotor and the vanes. It discharges to the this side. It has very small clearance, and the advantage of this is very silent design. The vanes are supposed to be wearing out as they uses, but this has got advantage. It is a very silent and very low clearances it can use, and it is uh, position of the vanes with respect to housing is maintained by centrifugal force. It is used in petrol pump industry. So vanes ride in the internal rotor, and they are swing out of the centrifugal force by rotor. The trapped volume is shown here. It gets discharged to the discharge side. So the rotor eccentrically mounted, it rotates at this point, and the actual center is downside physically. So it squeezes the volume. Now we come to some power calculation. Gear pump has got this expression. Now we'll use this formula for gear pump power calculation. Power is nothing but flow into pressure drop and divided by efficiency into some constant. So what is the formula? Flow should be in liters per minute. Pressure drop delta P or differential pressure should be in the bars. And one bar is you must have noted 10 is to 5 Newton per meter square pascals, and 1 liter is 0.001 meter cube. So this is a formula for power calculation. You can remember this pump calculation. All calculations are very simple, formula based. Instead of you have to just remember the formula and put the values and get the uh, calculations done. We talk of some selection process before we go to the calculation. What are the process of selection of the pump? Because pump selection will decide your working of the hydraulic circuit. The pump design with a wide range of operating are available. Designers must select suit carefully to achieve the circuit design that meet the functional objective of minimizing the total cost, which is a one-time cost of purchase, as well as the operating cost. Over the operating cost means it's a maintenance. Over the years, it requires some maintenance. So it is a one-time cost of purchase plus operating cost of maintenance. That included this is the total cost of the pump. The pump, what is the criteria of pump selection? the obvious criteria, it should meet the requirement of the flow and pressure. Both criteria should be met by the pump, this selected pump. So what are the criteria? Let us see that. There are one more issue is that we should select a pump such that there are some standards of design, setup or SA standard. So most of the gear pump manufacture these pumps to the standards. That means either SA standard or setup standard. So that external dimensions are same. So you can have interchangeability with one gear pump. Suppose gear pump A and gear pump B have same dimension. In case of maintenance, A can be replaced by B, different manufacturer. So the everything remains constant. So you need to select a pump such that we can have interchangeability. In industry of the hydraulic circuit, most of the components are not designed per se like a machine design. They are selected from a catalog, except at some places you require to design. But most of the components of the pump, say like a pump, actuator, valves, then filters, then any other rotary actuator, linear cylinder, they are not designed by a designer, but they are selected from the standard catalog of the available in industry. So you select most of the components and make sure that whole units are compatible to each other with respect to working of the circuit. So that way your selection procedure is very driven by the requirement of the circuit. You don't require to do selection of the uh, you do selection of the bearing in the rolling element bearing. You select the standard escape bearing or a fag bearing. You don't design per se a bearing. Similarly, all components of the hydraulic circuits are selected from the standard catalog and put across the on the circuit. So what are the operating pressures? Now, this is for information, so you need not remember, but when you go to industry, you will know. So operating pressures in machine tool industry is 200 bar. In material handling equipment is 250. Mobile equipment like earth moving equipment, which is a 300 bar. And pressure hydraulic presses or stationary presses, it's a 800 bar. You can see as you go from stationary to uh, mobile to stationary thing, the pressure can be very high. So now some more interesting information. The overall size and weight of the hydraulic pump is important in mobile industry. So you need to do compact selection of the design. In mobile hydraulic field, the trend is to reduce the weight of the hydraulic system by increasing the operating pressure and reducing the size of the reservoir using the efficient oil cooler. So in mobile equipment like earth moving equipment, the size is kept as small. Even the aeroplane industry will be using most compact design and high pressure and reducing the size. So now conventionally 200 to 300 bar is the most conventional pressure range in that can be used in industry. Very compact light units can be developed for the, so once somebody needs to develop, he can develop for aerospace industry where you require very compact design, but it will be extremely expensive. Now we'll see the performance of the pumps. What are the pump performance for the positive displacement pump? Here it's a generic data is given. The flow versus speed. So it is linearly increasing. Power is increasing as the flow increases and as per the RPM. So flow increases with the RPM. Power increases with the RPM. That is a characteristic. We'll see now with the head. Now positive displacement pump has got a constant head. It will not have it will have a constant flow. Sorry, not constant head. I'm sorry. It will develop a constant flow. That means the discharge volume remains constant. So flow per minute is almost constant. In theory, it can be slightly reducing less at higher head, but for practical purpose, we show as a straight line. In centrifugal pump, it is a uh, flow changes the head as the flow increases, the head can come down drastically. But in this head is almost a constant. Uh, required as per the required head is increasing here. Head is increased, flow is constant. Now here against the viscosity we have shown positive displacement pump head is almost constant with respect to viscosity. So there is no change in the head with respect to this. But in the centrifugal pump, As the viscosity increases, the head changes down, goes down. Now I've given here some small calculation to illustrate how easy to calculate the do the pump calculation of theoretical flow rate. A gear pump has an outside diameter of 80 millimeter, inside diameter of 55, width is 25. The actual speed is 1600 rpm. The rated pressure is 95 bar. So calculate volumetric displacement and theoretical discharge. So here, uh, what we have done is, what we know is, outside diameter of the gear is known. That means OD of the gear 80. ID of the gear, that means redundant diameter is TI 55. Width of the gear is 25. Speed is given as 1600 rpm. Actual flow rate, here actually it should be actual flow rate, not pressure. Actual flow rate 95. It's a mistake here. So actual flow rate is 95. So Q actual is 95. What is the discharge volume as per the formula? Pi by 4 do square minus dy square into width. So use the appropriate unit, put appropriate values of do and di in meters, multiply by L, that means width of the gear. So you get a volume per revolution. This is a volume per revolution. So multiply by RPM, you get a volume per minute based on the RPM. So here you can see here Q actually is 95 liters per minute, and here theoretical is I think there is some mistake here. This is actually is here. This is correct. Actual is less than theoretical. So theoretical is 0.106. That means it's a 106 liters per minute, and actually is 95 liters per minute. The second calculation of gear, just I have shown example. Calculate the theoretical delivery of the gear pump. Module of the gear is 6 mm. Width is given as 65. Number of teeth is given 16. Pressure angle is given 20. Pump speed is 1600. That means dedendum OD, addendum diameter is given as 108. Dedendum circle diameter is 81. Volumetric efficiency is 98%. At pressure is 7 MPa. So first we want to calculate theoretical delivery of the pump. Calculate using the formula given in that slide. 2 pi L m square n into one constant based of geometry, number of teeth into constant of the geometry. Put those values in appropriate. So here you in hydraulics you need to remember correct unit is required in appropriate unit. Otherwise you will have mismatch of the units and you will not get a correct answer. So if you put 2 pi into say L is 0.065 meters, m square module also convert in meters, RPM, number of teeth, pressure angle square here, cos 20 square, pi square by 12. So you get 0.416 meter cube per minute. Alternately, you use this formula also. You'll get a volume displaced is this, pi by 4 du square minus di square into L. And if you use the theoretical volume, pi by 4 0.108 square minus this di square into this into RPM. This also gives same theoretical volume. Then next slide. What is now pump performance? The pump performance is a performance of the pump is a function of precision of its manufacture. An ideal pump should have zero clearance, but that is not possible. So you keep small clearance. The volumetric, now we are talking of the pump performance for volumetric efficiency. These are all mathematical. You will be very comfortable to hear. Volumetric efficiency is the ratio of actual flow rate to the theoretical flow rate of the pump. It is expressed as follows. Actual flow rate upon theoretical flow rate. So volumetric efficiency decides the amount of leakage that takes place within the pump due to manufacturing tolerances and flexing of the pump casing. So in the gear pump, it is almost volumetric efficiency 80 to 90%. For vane pump, it is highest 92%. These are all rough figures. Piston pumps have still higher volume, 90 to 98%. Now come to the mechanical efficiency of the gear pump or the pumps. Mechanical efficiency is nothing but power output, pump output power, assuming no leakage, divided by actual power delivered to the pump. So in terms of the formula, mechanical efficiency is given nothing by P into QT, pressure pump pressure into theoretical flow rate QT divided by torque exerted TA on the delivered to the pump motor. TA is the torque into RPM. So use the appropriate unit. So this is the output of the pump. Pump outputs P into QT with some constant divided by theoretical torque given to the pump, actual torque given to the pump into RPM. So this will give mechanical efficiency. So in terms of now mechanical efficiency, you can go further. Theoretical torque required to operate the pump and actual torque delivered to the pump. So this is nothing but the previous expression in another fashion. So now coming to the theoretical torque required to operate the pump, that is given by this formula. V volume displaced per unit rate into diameter dn. So V into dn by 2 pi. So it is in meter cube into just a minute. Let me check what is the formula again. Into n into dn. I'll explain this when you come to the calculation. Theoretical torque actual by actual torque. This is the actual torque is power upon omega. This is given by the motor side. This is the formula given by the required torque to operate the pump. Probably you can assume this formula is correct. And this is the overall efficiency of the gear pump. With QA upon QT into P into QT upon TN. This completes our design of the hydraulic pump. Probably I can show you some numerical examples here to show how we work on the I've given it some calculation just to illustrate one numerical here. Probably you can take down, we can solve it during the next class. Here there is a hydraulic circuit, small device used for lifting something. So here one cylinder and second cylinder is connected by one housing. There is a slider here which moves this piston. There is one more slider here which moves the output and it rotates the shaft here. So this hydraulic device is using to lift something and giving output to this torque. So this is the data. Output torque T2 and calculate the output torque T2 if the input torque T1 is given as 10 Newton centimeter. Following is the data R1 teeth are number of radius of the gear teeth R1 and R2 are given. The diameter of the cylinder pistons are given D1 and D2 and you are given as the input torque given here. T1 is given, the torque here exerted on the external gear is given. So calculate. So how do we go about this solving? Let us solve this example now. So first we write Pascal. Here what I want to illustrate the Pascal's law. So the pressure exerted on this side is nothing but pressure exerted on the output side. So whatever is pressure here, because of the force F1, the same pressure is exerted on the piston here D2 and it is transmitted to this gear R2. So here we use the pressure formula P1 is equal to P2. So F1 upon A1 is equal to F2 upon A2. So F1 upon D1 square is F2 upon D2 square. So use mathematically correct logic, force nothing but torque upon radius. So F1 is replaced by T1 upon R1 into D1 square. This side is F2 is T2 upon R2 into D2 square. So you calculate T2 using the simple mechanical design. This is the force exerted here is converted into output torque here and use this Pascal's equation. I just wanted to show how Pascal's equation can be used to calculate the torque on the output side. Sir, I think I can stop here because it's almost 10:26. If anything is required, just let me know now.
Yes, sir. So if any students have any questions,
they can ask me, or they can you can send it on email also. There is no issue. If there is any questions required to be asked, you can ask me. Any Anything they want to ask here? Or they have any difficulty, they can write to me. I can show here. So just now, I have covered topic of elementary hydraulic circuit, some introduction, all this graphic symbols, and how the pump works, and what are the different formulae for pumps. And I'll be covering more topic on hydraulic valves and use of actuators, use of accumulators in next two sessions. So that will be more interesting to see that how the valves and things are used in the hydraulic circuit. This is the elementary part of hydraulic circuit, pump and symbols. So anything that they want to ask me, they can ask. Otherwise, we'll take up the topic next time. I'll share the 3 PPTs to you in the after my lecture is over. Anybody, if anybody want to ask any question? Any question they can put on my chat. I don't want to take just now because there is only 2 minutes left. Will be too short time just now. So I think there is no question just now. So you can, I'll pass on these 3 PPTs. You can share with the students. There is no issue.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Manohar.
Yeah. Anything they want to ask me, they can, you can share through my email to them. If you want, you can
Right.
share my email. There is no issue because some students may not just now ask me, but if they go through the PPT and they want to have ask me doubt, they can send it through email also. I can welcome them. No issue. So
Sure, sir.
should I stop presenting to me, everyone?
Yes, sir. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.